We are here with Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari. She is in Ohio, where she just deposed Les Wexner, one of Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. Congresswoman, did Les Wexner take the fifth? And if not, what did he say?
Yeah, we just wrapped up this deposition with Les Wexner, who is arguably the person responsible for Jeffrey Epstein's vast wealth. There would be no Epstein Island, no Zorro Ranch, no Epstein plane without the financial support of Les Wexner. So a very important person to ask questions to and who we were hoping would be transparent with us to give more information about, one, why he did that, why he gave power of attorney to Jeffrey Epstein, and if he had any knowledge of these crimes. I will say I did not find Les Wexner to be a credible witness, mostly because when asked whether they ever had any sort of personal relationship or friendship, he outright denied it when it is known they were, they had a decades-long financial relationship. He gave him hundreds of millions of dollars. They traveled together. So that is where I lost my trust in Wexner as a witness. But what we also found out today is that the DOJ never has investigated or asked questions of Les Wexner, even though he's named in the Epstein files as a potential co-conspirator, even though there are allegations against him from people like Virginia Giuffre, and even though, again, he was Epstein's number one benefactor. So it makes it abundantly clear to those of us on the oversight Democrat side of the committee that this is part of Pam Bondi and Donald Trump's cover-up of this entire thing, and it's an egregious cover-up.
And if Les Wexner is saying that he was never friends with Jeffrey Epstein, how does he characterize that relationship given all the receipts and all the money and all of the photos and sort of assets that exist, demonstrating that they were close, or at least in close contact with each other for a long time?
It's very bizarre. He says, he was my financial advisor. I was very busy at the time. I was, focused on all my companies, and, Jeffrey was advising me and serving as somewhat of like a house manager, a business manager in a sense. But it's completely counter to what long-standing, credible reporting shows us. I mean, there are profiles of the friendship between these two from many, many years ago in the New York Times and Vanity Fair. We know they had a close relationship. Why else would you give somebody power of attorney over all of your assets? Why would you give them hundreds of millions of dollars? Why would you trust them with all of your wealth and provide them with so much that really gave Epstein all of the wealth and all of the access that he had, and therefore enabled him to rape and traffic children for years, not just to himself, but to other rich and powerful people who we are still trying to find?
Did Les Wexner give any indication as to why he thought Jeffrey Epstein in particular was qualified to handle all this money? I mean, if he's claiming he's his business manager or whatever, like, why didn't he? Did he put out an RFP? Like, how did he decide to choose Jeffrey Epstein with this degree of financial trust?
So he says they met by chance, and they were introduced by some mutual friends, and they met by chance. And, when we even asked him, what was your first impression of Epstein? And he said, I thought he was, quote, just a guy. And then later, he pitched
Did he give them
him.
$100 million?
What's been reported is actually Wexner's former financial advisor at the time really spent some time with Epstein and said he could tell something was off and that maybe he was a con man or, not being truthful. And he expressed that to Wexner. And despite all of the advice that Wexner got, he still chose to go with Epstein and just give him 150% confidence and access to his world. And this is the big mystery. I mean, we asked him directly if they had a romantic relationship, because that's an allegation made in the Epstein files.
And what did Les Wexner say about to that question about whether or not he had a romantic relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
He denied it and essentially insinuated that it was ridiculous, but it's very difficult to understand why else. And here's the other point that he did not answer why. When it became clear that Epstein actually stole hundreds of millions of dollars throughout the years. And allegedly, Wexner's wife, Abigail, discovered this. Les Wexner did not press charges, go after Epstein for stealing hundreds of millions of dollars. So it begs the question, did he really steal the money? Or was there an arrangement? Or was he paying him for something and then got caught? And then, there's the challenge is that the more information we get, the more questions there are. And these people are experts at lying. I mean, they've been covering these relationships and these stories and these crimes up for years. So they're pros at it. And it is very, very, very clear that this cover up it spans not just the White House and the Trump administration, but across universities and across, big corporations and many in the elite circles of this country and the world.
I feel like this fact pattern definitely begs the question, was Jeffrey Epstein blackmailing Les Wexner? Like, what do you think?
I think it's certainly possible. I think that's a
Okay.
theory. I mean, there's correspondence to back this up. There's correspondence because Wexner says that they cut off contact in 2007. There's an email from Epstein to Wexner where he essentially refers to, I know I've done a lot for you and I owe you, and you also, quite frankly, owe me quite a bit. And also refers to, quote, gang stuff that they keep private. So yes, he makes a lot of statements in that correspondence about, their relationship that it very much implies that there was a much deeper relationship with a lot of shared secrets.
Were the accusations, was Les Wexner asked about the accusations made against him by Virginia Giuffre?
He was, and he denied them and said he didn't know her.
Got it. And what do you make of the fact that literally 0 Republicans showed up to this deposition in Ohio? Like none of your Republican colleagues showed up to depose Les Wexner.
I think the Republicans showed their cards today. I think they showed that they're not serious about this investigation, that to them, this investigation, one, we forced their hand into this investigation, first and foremost. It was the oversight committee where there was a subpoena made, and after months and months of Trump's cover-up and Pam Bondi's flip-flopping, that a couple of the Republicans were forced to vote with us, and that's when the first subpoena for the files came. So they haven't been serious about this from day one. If you don't show up to depose Les Wexner, who is arguably in the top 3 individuals with information about Jeffrey Epstein, then you are not serious about any sort of truth for the victims or the survivors that you feign wanting justice for. And I'll be interested to see next week when we have the deposition with the Clintons, if they show up to that in full force, because they only care about the political aspect of it and they want to make this as political as possible. Whereas I don't care what political party somebody is from. If you raped or abused kids, you need to be prosecuted immediately.
And last question, was there anything revealing about Les Wexner's ties to the Ohio State University and the wrestling scandal that happened there, the wrestling sexual misconduct scandal?
There were a couple of questions more broadly about his ties to Ohio State University, in particular as it relates to Epstein, because there is evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was giving money quarterly to a gynecologist at Ohio State University to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars, and the money was coming from Les Wexner. And a lot of questions were asked to him about this, because it is possible, and it has been reported, that this doctor may have been involved in working with the victims of Epstein. And so one of my colleagues asked Wexner his knowledge about this, and he claimed to have no knowledge. She probed on, well, it was your money. How do you not know where your money was going or why? And he said he had no idea and he doesn't know, and they'll have to look into it. So it was a lot of repeated claims of, I don't recall, I don't remember, I don't know. I just let it happen. And I just don't buy that.
But I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what do you expect to hear from the Clintons in New York? Are there any questions that you think need to be answered, or what are your expectations there and going for the next deposition?
I think that the deposition with the Clintons is going to be very important. I think, from my understanding and from what I have seen in the Epstein files, I think the Bill Clinton deposition is far more important and relevant than the Hillary Clinton deposition. I think that one is largely political. That being said, if she has any information, we look forward to hearing it. But I think with President Clinton, we know that he did have a long-standing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. We want to understand more about that. If he has information about people who may have committed crimes or enabled the crimes, we want to know about that. Truly, any and all information. And from what I've seen from their public statements, they are eager to share and they have asked for it to be public and televised. And that call was rejected by her. But either way, the interview or the deposition will be transcribed and we will ask any and all questions. And I don't think anyone's intending to hold back.
But are you going to be going to the State of the Union next week? Or are you boycotting?
I'm not going to the State of the Union. I'll be taking part in the counter programming organized by Move On. So still bringing my guest to Washington, D.C. to talk about ICE, but won't be attending the Trump version of it all.
Move On and Midas Touch. And that's a great place to end this. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight, Congresswoman. Really appreciate it. And yeah, get back safe from Ohio. For more videos like this about the news of the day, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you want to support my work, please visit migrantinsider.com and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe out there.